This TV and this thing. Oh, come on. Don't. No, you don't.
Hey, I'm Jeremiah Isley, here with a very special interview. Sitting to my right is Alan Gerding of Tuesday Night Games, co-designer, co-founder of Tuesday Night Games.
All the above.
But co-designer of Two Rooms and a Boom, which is currently crushing it on Kickstarter.
I checked. It was at 300% of the time of this recording.
Yeah, so you guys are just blasting past stretch goals, and
Yeah,
how's that?
it's amazing. We really didn't know. Like, so many people told us, you're going to do amazing on Kickstarter. It's going to be really popular. But you never know until you actually go through it. I think we have a really special game, and I think that's what shines. Because a lot of people ask, we're getting a lot of people ask, what's your secret? Like, how did you do this? We did a lot of pre-marketing as far as going to conventions, showing people the game, that kind of thing. But I think it really, and I don't mean it, it may sound mean, it may sound arrogant, it's just a really good game that people have fun with.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why it has legs. So I think if we did all that pre-marketing and the game wasn't fun and people hadn't already played it, it wouldn't be moving as much as it's moving. Because it's always available for free for print and play.
Yeah.
And a lot of people said, why would people back it if they can get it for free online? And the answer is, well, it's a lot of work to print out all those cards and cut it out. Plus, if you really
Totally
like
is.
the game, yeah, you can support us. So it's all about the spirit, because gaming community is amazing. And so they
Yeah.
understand, like, oh, well, let's support this kind of effort.
Definitely. So it is a solid game. We just played it like
It was a good time.
8 times with a bunch of people, all different gamer levels, from people that have played games longer than I have to people who are just now learning how to play games. So talk about the game a little bit. How did you guys, like, where did the concept come from? What originated this whole thing?
So in our company, I mostly do game design, and Sean does pretty much everything artistic. Like, he's even doing the card art himself. We were looking for artists, and then Sean was just doing this art in the meantime. It's like, boom, there was a talent. But Sean is also, I don't know what to call him, like a game coach. The way we met was I was pitching my own games to, he worked for Arcane Wonders, which makes Mage Wars, and that's a good game.
Yeah.
And we met, and I was pitching his boss, the owner of the company, some of my games. And then Sean was hanging out at my place. We became fast friends. He said, we need to make a game that's like Werewolf or Resistance. That's what you need to do. And I was like, well, any ideas? Like, I know, just no moderator for sure. I'm like, all right. He says something, and he said maybe there's 2 separate areas. Like, maybe robbers robbing a bank, and you don't know if they're actually robbers inside or something like that. And I said, 2 different play areas.
Like 2 rooms, maybe?
Like 2 rooms. And then so it literally happened where I'm sitting down and he's there, and I said, give me 20 minutes to really think about this, because I think there's something with a bomb and a president or something like that. And he's like, ooh, that sounds interesting. And then 20 minutes I said, this is it. Blah, 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 blah. And he's like, that's it, man. And so literally within 3 hours, we had cut and printed out the first version.
Wow.
And then we went to Protospiel in Ann Arbor, New York. And I believe it's in Ann Arbor. Anyway, no, New York, Michigan. Sorry,
Yes.
that was weird. We went to Protospiel in Michigan, and we showed it, and it was a big hit with all these other game designers and heavier gamers and things. We're like, wow, we may have something. And that's the genesis of 2 Rooms and a Bit.
Awesome. So 3 hours for the base game, but there's like 42,000 special roles. How long has it taken you to develop all the different role cards, all that peripheral stuff? I can say those long words this late at night.
Right.
How long did that kind of take? Obviously you're kind of still tweaking all of that. What's
Right.
the process, the timeline been for this?
So a lot of times I'll just be playing, and I just thought of a new character tonight as we were playing. I'm like, oh my goodness. In fact, check this out. I'll even share the character. I was like, we don't have a character where if you color reveal with someone, then they have to co-exchange with you too. So it's like a bait and switch.
Yeah.
And
Like the car salesman or something.
right.
Yeah.
And actually, when I come up with these, I'll tell my wife, and she's actually sitting over here. We went on a road trip. Shortly after we did this, we had to go to the holidays because it was in the summertime and we were visiting family. And I said, I'm just going to be on the car ride. I'm just going to come up with characters. And I literally came up with probably 50 or 60 characters that day, just bouncing off ideas on her, calling up Sean and being like, I have this idea. And he's like, go for it, you know. Anyway, so there's basically two ways to come up with the characters. And this is an oversimplification because there's other ways. The one is you think of a mechanic that you want, and then you come up with a name for it. Mm-hmm. Like, for instance, just tonight, this is going to be inappropriate, so we can edit this out or whatever.
Okay.
I was like, someone who does a color reveal, but then it forces a co-exchange with it. And Crystal said, you mean like a pedophile? Where he's kind of like, oh, well, we can't go with that. But a bully is a much more politically correct.
Yes, that's a more
politically
appropriate
correct
buzzword there.
But then the other way to come up with characters has been coming up with a character name. Like, what would a bear do? Or
Something that would inspire that thought.
Right.
Yeah.
In fact, this happened. Joshua Giddens, he's this great retail store owner, and I meet him at conventions, things like that. So he's a friend. And he said, you know what you're missing from this game? Is you're missing a Cthulhu character. You don't have a Cthulhu character. And I was like, oh. Well, like, Tentacles, like, I draw this comic, and I have this Tentacles character, which is like a Cthulhu cultist that's nothing but a tentacle, that kind of thing. Like, but what can he do? And Joshua Giddens just said that. I'm like, he could be the opposite of the bouncer. He can reach into the other rooms and pull the people in. So, oh my goodness. And it was literally right there within a minute.
Wow.
So some characters are like that. Other characters, like the Easter Bunny, I still can't figure out what the hell the Easter Bunny's going to do. I don't know. So those are the two main ways.
Awesome.
Yeah. Oh, and third way, I should really mention this.
Okay.
Playtesters on Board Game Geek. So they're playing on Play-By Forum constantly.
Right.
And then we have a thread that says character ideas. And there's definitely, I know there's probably more one. Like the Assassin isn't working out. We're trying to work with the Assassin. That someone had an idea, a show. But then I think it was Justin Call, came up with the Mastermind. So some playtesters will come up with some rules and be like, oh wow, we haven't thought of that. Kind of thing. Before we brought it to public, we did have those 60, 70 characters at that time. But yeah, it's a community game in that sense. It's not just two guys or one guy or a man and a wife. It's the community's game.
That's great. That's great. So how long have you, how did you get into game design? Were you a gamer growing up? Does your wife put up with it? Does she enjoy it? How does that work out?
I'm very fortunate that Crystal met me when I was in the throes at the beginning of my gaming, because my gaming really started way back when I was a kid. I was somewhat of a gamer then, but what really got me into game design was I was hosting Werewolf constantly. I've been hosting Werewolf since I was 13 years old, constantly. So Werewolf in that way. So I'm almost more of a host than a game designer. In fact, the games that I design because they're easy and quick to host, and they kind of take on an essence of their own. So anyways, it started off like that, but then what really happened is we were doing a role-playing game, Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay.
Okay.
I love the Warhammer universe, and there were problems with the system. It's a great system, but there were some problems, and there was mechanics to it. And then I tweaked it, and eventually I came up with my own role-playing system. But before that, I was like, oh, I think I fixed the combat. I use this card-based system. And then I contacted Jay Little, who is the lead developer and designer for the Warhammer Fantasy universe since Fantasy Flight Games bought it. So I went to Gen Con, and I met Jay Little and said, hey, would you eat lunch with me? He said, sure. And I didn't even know anything about the gaming industry and how it was. I didn't realize that's not normally how it's done.
Right.
Game designers don't come up to guys and be like, hey, you may be interested in my game.
Right.
You set up meetings for him. But I said lunch, and maybe he thought that was a meeting. And I said, hey, I love the game. He said, thanks. I said, but we don't like the combat. So here's a card system I developed, kind of deal. And he showed it. And I could tell at the time he was a little suspicious. He was I could tell he was thinking, well, what do you want me to do with this? But I was like, yeah, cool. I was just a fanboy showing what I thought. I wasn't trying to sell him an idea. Yeah. And I even said, you can use that if you want to. The next year, he remembered me. He was like, oh, dude, come here. It's like you got to go to this meeting and check it out. And he unveiled Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 3rd edition. And there's these cards. Now, his cards are different than mine, so I don't want to say, I came up with this whole thing. But I will admit
But you sparked something there that kind of...
Maybe he was already thinking of it, but he definitely called me. I was like, you got to see this. Yeah. And I haven't talked to him about it since, because I was still a fanboy. I was shy. I didn't know. Nowadays, if that happened again, I'd be like, oh, man, cool. Is that because of these cards? I would have had it. But I was too scared and shy and things like that to be like, Went home, and my girlfriend at the time, now wife, was like, "How much money did he give you?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "What do you?" And so I was like,
yeah.
the interesting thing was like, well, that was nothing though. Like that was just me tweaking things. Like I could do something way better than that, and that's what got me into game design.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Very
Yeah.
cool. So Tuesday night games, you guys are doing 2 Rooms and a Boom, and like we said, you're just killing it on Kickstarter. What other things do you guys have cooking? Are you working on other titles? Are you focusing mostly on that?
Yeah, so a lot of people will come up to us and ask if we do submissions. So the other thing that really got me into game design is here locally, actually, we have a group called BOGA, Board Gamers of Greater Akron, and there's a division of that called Board Gamers of Greater Akron Design and Prototype Committee. We call it BOGA DAP.
Okay.
And that's just where a whole bunch of maybe wannabe game designers or successful game designers have come there, and we've play tested each other's games, critiqued them, that kind of thing, right? So I had this whole lineup of games, and I was selling them to publishers. But the interesting thing is a little bit of a catch-22, because the more games you make, the more publishers will listen to you, the more clout you have. Mm-hmm. And here I am, like a first-time game designer, and so it was hard even to get meetings, that kind of thing. And I definitely got some people interested. In fact, 2 Rooms and a Boom was sold at first, but then we decided we'd do it on our own.
Okay.
And the idea was, well, why don't we publish my games? Because we get people asking us, well, here's some game ideas. Already, like, we haven't even finished publishing our first one, but game designers saying, here's an idea, do you want to publish my game? Realistically, Tuesday Night Games was made for me to publish my own games. Next on the line is Woo-Wee, we believe. It may change because we're providing the print and play files to a lot of play testers. And if they say, no, this game we want now, maybe we'll change it. But Woo-Wee is probably going to be the next one. Hands down the handsiest game that you've ever played. It's kind of like Jungle Speed, if you've played Jungle Speed.
Yeah.
Yeah, where if your cards match, you do that. But here it's, instead of just being shapes, it's gestures and something you have to say. For instance, there's like Berry Bear and Moosey Moose and like thumbs up. And so when you play a card, you have to do it. If your card matches someone else's, you have to race to the center and hit the BAM card. But here's where the interesting thing comes in. If your cards don't match, all of your cards go into the center pile into a spiral-like formation. So here's the spiral. And then once yours does match someone, you have to do all the cards on the table before you get it. So then you have someone going like, Moosey Moose, Berry Bear, thumbs up, woo-wee! Like, Home Alone, all these different gestures and things until you bam. And people love it. And again, it's that social thing that's really fun, gets people off their feet, really active. And that's actually a complaint that some people have about my games is they're too loud.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because we'll go to some game groups and they're like, oh, 2 Rooms and a Boom. It's going to get loud.
It's going to get rowdy.
Yeah, exactly.
We might have too much fun.
Right.
So, awesome. Well, where can people find 2 Rooms and a Boom right now?
Right now it's Kickstarter.
Kickstarter.
And the game will always be available for free for print and play.
Yeah.
The idea is right now it's the older version. We might update it, but people say, how can you get the game? And so maybe the argument to buy the game instead of print and play is that you get the updated credit cards and things like that.
Yeah.
But 2roomsandboom.com will take you to the Kickstarter, or TuesdayNightGames.com. We got all those domains. So.
And that's Tuesday night with a K.
The Tuesday nights. Ching, ching,
that's right.
Whatever.
Right.
Tuesday nights. Yeah.
Awesome.
But we also own the domain for if you spell it with an N, too, if you forget the K.
Just to redirect.
And it redirects.
Gotta do it. Gotta do it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks so much for bringing the game out. I had a blast with it.
Thanks for having me,
much
seriously.
fun.
This is a great way to spend an evening.
It is like 2 o'clock in the morning right now, and we just played 2 Rooms and a Boom a whole bunch and just had a blast.
For that Extra Life charity.
Yeah,
so good work.
Yeah, so just a good day, lots of fun, and really appreciate you coming out. That's Alan Gerding. I'm Jeremiah Isley with theologyofgames.com. Check us out all over the web. Look for 2 Rooms and a Boom. It's like, what, $20 to get the game?
$20 to get the game.
Dude, it's a no-brainer. If you like the Resistance and Werewolf and all that, you will love this game. It's a completely original spin on it, so go do it. And thanks again for tuning in. I'm Jeremiah. That's Alan. Thanks
for having me, man.
We'll see you guys later.
Take it easy.
Awesome.